It is time to talk tech. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and if you take a pumpkin's circumference and divide by its diameter, you just might make yourself some pumpkin pie. If you've been watching my videos, maybe you're catching on to the Thanksgiving theme to those jokes. I'm going to keep them rolling up as long as I can. My goal is to make it all the way to Thanksgiving. In this video, however, I'm talking about SoFi, Tesla, Nvidia, and I'm also going to be talking about some of the action happening in the markets that could be a bolster, a tailwind to each of those companies as we go forward and talk about them. And I think that their charts are also very interesting and very much worthwhile to look at. So if you guys want to see how I'm playing this market, you do that through the Patreon. That link is down in the description. Nvidia has their earnings coming up on November the 21st. That's very important. Also over at the Patreon, I have my Nvidia earnings and stock price prediction that goes up through 2030. You can see August the 16th. I will be updating that as we get closer to those earnings. My goal is to have that out to you this evening. So be looking for that. And then also my options course that I'm building out over there, learn how to amplify your portfolio. And then finally, Mumu, I'll tell you about that later with the free stocks that you can get. So I'm going to take a look at the charts, put up and do a small technical analysis for you for SoFi, Tesla, and Nvidia. And each one of them, I think, has something interesting to say as we go out and we look across different time frames. So I'm going to give some of that commentary. So let me bring this down and put TradingView up there so that you can see it. So the very first one that we're looking at here is SoFi. And you can see this is just zoomed out right now, going all the way back to 2022 when we had the big sell-off. This is actually November 2021 throughout 2022. And it's been kind of lackluster, we'll say, since that point in time. So when we look at this run-up that we have right here, while it's a good run-up for us, it's nothing like we have currently seen. So what we're looking at right now, by the way, is the weekly chart. And something that I want you to see on the weekly chart, first of all, is this large volume that we have relative to what has come before it. So that's a good thing for us. That can be bullish. We can look at the RSI, and we are just crossing over 50 as of this past week. So when the market opens today, if we open higher, we should be pushing back up above that number. So we'll be keep on watching that. That cross is the time. And then mind you, this is a weekly time frame. So this would be something that would play out over weeks. And so if you're looking for options plays, you would want to go with a far enough expiration date out if you're going to do like a call option, for example, in order to take advantage of this. So let's go to the daily chart now for this one. So for SoFi, you can see that we've come right up to the top of this channel as we have on here. Peekaboo just over it and then failed to break it and came way back down to about the $8 mark. So when we closed this on Friday, we closed out at 801. Now, mind you, even though that is just south of the 50-day simple moving average, which can act as support or resistance for us. So we closed just below it. Not great, but we hit that $8 psychological resist. Where are we at in the pre-markets? $8.11. So that would put us up above the 50-day from Friday. So we want to keep a lookout on that. And for going for call options on this, now mind you, I think that for SoFi, this is one that I think prior to the end of the year, prior to the next earnings, I think that we could see this go up to $10 per share in that run up, especially as we get closer to those earnings, if we're still anticipating that, well, first of all, that we have the market strength there and that we're anticipating profitability coming out from SoFi. So we're going to be watching for that when their earnings come around out in January. I think that's going to be a big and exciting time. And I think the market as a tailwind, and I will show a few things about Qs, so QQQ, SPY, and then I'll also show IWM to show that each one of those, if we're looking at the S&P 500, if we're looking at the NASDAQ 100, or if we're looking at the Russell 2000, each one of them I think is right now showing us some very interesting signs. And I put out a video yesterday called November Bull, definitely worth checking out. So you might want to watch that one. And getting back to SoFi as we have here, we need to make sure that we're breaking out of this bearish channel that we have. And then we also want to be watching for the different levels that we end up hitting. This top right up here, by the way, is right about that $9 mark, which we can most certainly get rejected off of. And the previous top that we had was right around the $8.70 mark. So I'm going to be watching that as well. You can see just how quickly we retreated as soon as we broke out of this channel. So we broke out of it. The high was $8.48 and then sold off. However, when you watch the momentum, we still have significant momentum here. So we want to be watching for that coming off of earnings to see if we get that run up. We certainly have the markets at our back for that one. Let's move on to Tesla. So for Tesla, what a heck of a sell-off that we've had with those earnings over in the Discord, which you can access through the Patreon. We talked about this. We ended up shorting this one and ended up profiting very well from this play. Now, mind you, I don't ever tell you what to do. I can tell you what I'm doing. Some people also do their own due diligence and research, and they happen to also make those moves that I do if they see the same things that I see. And, well, this one worked out very, very well for us. Now, some things that we see when we look at the daily chart for Tesla, we did close up above the 200-day. That is a bullish thing. In the pre-market, markets, we are about right around that $224 mark as we look at this. The importance is not today's prices. The importance is that we stay above that 200-day and we have a positive slope on that. We have the downside of that, which is that 50-day coming down. It has a negative slope for right now. Where does the price put us throughout Q4, we'll say, for Tesla? Well, if with the market at its back, with the markets at its back, with interest rates, if we see the 10-year yields continue to come down, if we see that the Fed is getting no further evidence of any further rate hikes, which puts us closer to a cut whenever that should happen throughout 2024, which I think is going to be sooner than what they're currently signaling right now. So January, not totally off the table, but unlikely. And then March, and then through May, June, those are the times that we're looking at for that first rate cut to come in. In Tesla, the market's going to anticipate it, and you can see it in Tesla's price. The RSI right now, down below 50. So that's still bearish, but is creeping up on it. We want to watch for that because it's going to happen quick and it's going to happen fast. And you can see the 5 and the 13 EMAs, which are the yellow and the green that are curving around right around here, still pushing up for us. So if we stay above the 200-day, that can be a bullish thing. Now, let me go out to a weekly chart because there's something really interesting to look at for Tesla when you look at the weekly. And you can see this bearish channel is actually this resistance line that we have here, which now is acting as support for us. So this goes all the way back to November of 21. And we were beneath it the whole time, all the way throughout 2022 into 2023. We finally crossed over it in, let me see, Monday, the 5th of June, 2023. We finally broke above that and then entered into this newer channel here, which puts us into a higher area for that. So staying up above that's good. And you can see just how quickly we ripped off of that every time that we came down and retested it. So when we tested it on the 14th of August, we had a nice little rip up from there. When we tested it over here in the 30th of October, that week, we also ripped up off of that one as well. So where does that put us? So let's go down to the daily chart again so we can see that. So the 50-day, I think, is going to act as really good resistance for us. And that right now is around that 245 level. So maybe we see somewhere up to 240 in the near term. Should we break above that, I think that we have room up to that 250 to 255 mark. I don't think that we break out of this bearish channel yet. I think that we're going to come back and I think we're going to retest the top of it. But I really think that it's going to take further news of inflation coming down. I think it's going to have to be weakening of the US dollar. Geopolitical tensions declining could be a very good thing for us. If things keep on going in our way and the markets keep on pumping throughout the month of November, I think seeing Tesla move up from where they're at right now, another 10%, maybe 15% from where they're at right now, we could possibly see those movements happen. So where do we get stopped out on this? 240 could be about where we find that. So 240, maybe up to 245. And then should we break through the 50-day, which would be a bullish sign for us up to the top of the channel. But I do think that we're going to have a lot more fluctuation for Tesla's price in the near term, given the last earnings call that we had and the talk about the interest rate sensitivity. But as we start to suspect that those interest rates are going to start coming down and the Fed is going to start cutting their rates, I think we're going to start seeing that strength come back for Tesla. Q4 earnings, don't know that I'm totally bullish on that, but we're going to have to see where the stock price is at as we get up to those Q4 earnings, the full year earnings for Tesla, and then, of course, that guidance that we get going forward from there. But if the markets stay at our backs, stay a tailwind for these tech stocks, these are prices that we could believably see throughout the rest of November and into December. So let's now go on to Nvidia. Nvidia, remember, their earnings come out November the 21st, the last of the Magnificent Seven. And look at this. For Nvidia, they actually have this trend line coming right across the tops. As a matter of fact, if I zoom out a little bit more, we'll show it on the weekly chart, then we'll come back to the daily. When you can see it much easier on the daily chart here. This is something right now, this formation, this descending triangle that we have, descending momentum that's going on right now. These are bearish signs that say that Nvidia could possibly push down through here. Now, I think a lot of this is circumstantial from what we saw from the markets. And I said from their last earnings that Nvidia is now in the market's hands, that Nvidia is going to do whatever the market does. And then don't forget about the headwind that we get from China with the further sanctions that we have. That's something that's going to continue to be a pain until it either goes away or until we really hear from Nvidia about further commentary for them. But the demand for their parts is off the chain. And as of right now, I still don't think that they can even meet all of that demand that's coming up yet. So that is a very good problem to have when the supply doesn't keep up with the demand. And I believe that Nvidia will continue to have pricing power over their customers. So this is one that I remain bullish on. And where does that put us leading up to those earnings? Well, you can see where we're at right now. We crossed with the RSI back up over the 50. I think we stay in bullish territory leading up to those earnings, again, with the markets at our backs. If the markets are not at our backs, this can totally change that story. We do need to break over this trend line to make it happen. It is above the 50-day. We have the cross of the 5 and the 13. That's also bullish. The RSI is bullish. We're above the 200-day, which is bullish. Now we need this trend line to break. And when it does, we have permission to move up to about 470. Now, depending on how much market strength we get leading up to earnings, I think that we could possibly see 480 in the cards. And that being sort of that limbo space that we see between what we get from earnings. Does it push us up over 500 because we get another big surprise from Nvidia? Or is it something that we just get that run up, earnings happens, and then we come ripping back down on those prices? We're just going to have to hear. I am going to be updating that Nvidia video and the Nvidia spreadsheet with those China headwinds in place so we can see what to expect over the next 12 months. Now that we have more of the market priced into it, now that we will have more results coming out, and we'll see how that plays out. So you can go and look at that video right now as it stands from back in August for Nvidia. Check out that spreadsheet, and I'll be putting out that updated one very soon. So that's Nvidia. I'm going to take just another quick moment to tell you really quick about the Patreon. With the Patreon, I put my Tesla stock price prediction over there. I put my Nvidia stock price prediction over there. And then I also have my courses that I'm putting out over there right now. It's the Portfolios Amplified Options course that you can access. That's actually over here in this tab as we look at it. And I just recorded my most recent video for that, where we start to take a look at the applications of buying call options in the markets on actual stocks. So that is something that I'm very excited to be putting out. And then also, if you want to trade options where I do, use the options analyzer, the options calculator tool, and they're also going to be introducing a cash sweep vehicle for any cash that you have in your account, where you will actually receive interest on the funds that are unused in your account for Mumu, and I believe that's around a 5% APY. So go ahead and check that out. So scrolling down from there, here, deposit levels. Here's the free shares that go along with those deposit levels, and this offer does end, so make sure that you take advantage of it while it's out there for you. Getting back over to TradingView, let's go over to SPY. There we are. And I reported on this yesterday. We're above the 50-day. Good thing. RSI is up above 50 on the daily chart. Let's go out to the weekly chart. Here's where things get really interesting, because we did cross down below 50 on the weekly chart. It's a bearish thing for us. However, we crossed back up above more recently as of last week. Look at that. Over 5%, almost 6% up throughout last week. That was an incredible week for us. We know it because we were part of it, and we did peekaboo up out of this bearish channel. That's a good sign for us. So we're above the 200-day, we're above the 50-day. We're also still above the, well, actually we bounced pretty darn hard off of the 50-week that we have here, which is also very good for us. A very strong sign for us to come up off of these support levels that we have. And now what we're looking for is continued strength, and right now the momentum is indicating that we will have that strength. We're going to have to watch this week. This week will confirm if we have a further bull trend for November coming up for us. Going over to the Qs, when we look at QQQ, which has 3 Qs, not 2, there we go. So for this one, again, RSI even more convincing, a better cross up over the 50. We want to be watching for that. We are hitting resistance right up at the top of this. However, we go down to the daily chart on this one. So we're bullish on the weekly. Go to the daily. You can see we're up above the 50 on that. We retreated from this just real quick, just for that moment. But I do think that it is possible we break up above this. So breaking out of this trend and then retesting some of these peaks that we have, we want to break over that 373 mark, and then we have permission to run up to 377, and we peaked out last time before that at about 380. So the more we take on these tops that we have, that we avoid the double top, which can be a bearish reversal for us, then we want to blow clean through those. And right now we have the rising momentum that can signal to us that it is possible that we keep on pushing forward with that. Now, finally, the Russell 2000 one, I talked about in my video yesterday. So retreated from the 50-day pretty darn quickly on this one. The volumes and the momentum that we have are signaling to us that we could have further upward movement. This white line that's on here coming across diagonally across your screen, that is the long-term support for us, which right now is acting as resistance because we're beneath it. Getting up above that line also puts us up above the 50-day as we look at it, which can again be very good for us. And if we go out to the weekly on this one, we have taken a sharp bounce as of last week. Fell short of crossing the 50. I think that the time is coming for the Russell 2000 shares, especially with everything that we have happening. So economic reports have to stay good. Inflation reports have to come in strong for us. And when I say strong, I don't mean high inflation. I mean strong as in keep on showing us a trend of declining inflation over time. We want to watch that. Strength of the US dollar. In some of my videos, I talked about DXY, the US dollar index. That has been dropping. We want to see it continue to drop. Should it rise back up again, that's going to drag the markets back down. Same thing with the US 10-year Treasury yields. As we watch those, staying down below, especially down below 4.8% is going to be huge for us. As we get near that number, as we rise further and further up above 4.5 and cross 4.6, 4.7, the market will get nervous and the market will sell off. So we need continued drops in that 10-year yield as well. And the further that drops for us, the more bullish it can be for us. So we want to see that continue over time as well. Got a lot of Fed speeches coming out. Make sure that you watch those. Wrapping this thing up for you. SoFi, Tesla, Nvidia, I'm bullish on all of those. I think November could be a very good month for us. All that stuff that I said to watch and more. We're going to keep watching for it. I'm going to keep reporting on it, and we will monitor these stocks and a lot more stocks. And we will see the ones that I'm monitoring, the ones that I'm actually putting money on. You can do that through the Patreon. That link is down in the description. Take advantage of my options course that's over there. Come on over and check out the Nvidia stock price prediction and earnings projection, and then also your free stocks from Mumu. Don't forget about those. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.